For most of modern history, the world believed resources were endless. Water would always flow, soil would always produce, and minerals would always exist beneath our feet. But the 21st century has shattered that illusion. Rivers are drying, aquifers are collapsing, and farmland that once fed nations is now turning to dust under the pressure of climate, overuse, and population growth. Energy grids once powered by abundant fuel are straining under volatile supply chains, while critical minerals needed for batteries, chips, and global technology are becoming the new gold of a digital empire. This is no longer a distant warning. It is the present reality. Nations are preparing for shortages, corporations are stockpiling supplies, and global power is shifting toward whoever controls what remains. The age of abundance built the modern economy, but the age of scarcity will redefine it. In this new era, survival is not about money, priesthood, synchronized access to water, food, minerals, energy, and stability. And for the first time in human history, civilizations may face a future where the world itself can no longer provide enough for all. The simplest resource, the most essential element, is becoming the world's most powerful economic weapon. Enlarged seas built beside rivers now face unprecedented droughts, windshield melt declines, and rainfall becomes unpredictable. Richer nations quietly buy rights to foreign water sources. Monitored poorer regions face forced migration, crop failures, and infrastructure collapse. Hydropower plants struggle to operate as reservoirs shrink, causing electricity crises that ripple through every industry. Misunderstand, groundwater, once considered untouchable, is being pumped faster than nature can replenish it, creating invisible deserts beneath thriving cities. Security agencies worldwide label water scarcity as a top threat, warning that future wars may not be about ideology or borders, but about who has the right to drink, farm, and survive. And in this emerging landscape, corporations are buying entire watersheds, turning a basic human need into a commodity that can be bought, sold, and denied. The age of water wars is not coming. It has already begun. Food is the foundation of civilization, yet the global food system is built on fragile land, fragile climate, and fragile politics. A third of the world's farmland is already degraded, and the remaining fertile soil is losing nutrients faster than it can recover. Heat waves destroy seasonal crops, while unpredictable storms wipe out entire harvests overnight. Countries that once exported food now struggle to feed themselves, triggering worldwide price spikes that push millions into hunger. But the crisis is not just environmental, it's financial. Fayette agricultural corporations consolidate land, using advanced technology to outcompete small farmers, flooring, and gain control over regional food supply chains. Nations dependent on imported grains face a dangerous vulnerability. A single disruption can collapse their economy. And as global shortages grow, food becomes a tool of geopolitical pressure, a silent weapon capable of forcing political concessions without firing a single bullet. The world is discovering a brutal truth. In an age of scarcity, the most valuable asset is not gold, it is a stable meal. Every smartphone, every battery, every electric vehicle, every data center, satellite, and military weapon flashed on rare minerals extracted from the earth. But those minerals are running out. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, copper, the backbone of the digital and green energy revolution, are now the focus of a new global scramble. Nations with mineral reserves rise in power overnight, while those without become dependent and strategically vulnerable. Corporations invest billions into securing mines in Africa, South America, and Central Asia, turning remote villages into battlegrounds for resource dominance. The competition is ruthless. Countries restrict exports, companies hoard inventory, Kang markets flourish as shortages grow. This battle is not about luxury goods. It is about technological survival. Whoever controls the minerals controls the future. And as supplies diminish, the world edges closer to a new era of mineral empires, where technology itself becomes a scarce resource. Energy is the lifeblood of the global economy. Yet the world is entering an era where traditional energy becomes unreliable and new energy becomes insufficient. Oil fields mature faster than new discoveries appear, subjected price shocks that destabilize entire nations. Natural gas grids face unpredictable shortages, countries to ration electricity and shut down factories. Meanwhile, the renewable revolution, solar, wind, hydrogen, requires minerals and land that are also becoming scarce. The transition is happening, but not fast enough to meet global demand. This imbalance creates a new economic reality: rolling blackouts, energy rationing, volatile markets, and a widening gap between energy-rich and energy-poor countries. Some nations will thrive as energy superpowers, while others will face economic collapse. And as scarcity deepens, energy stops being a market commodity and becomes a geopolitical weapon capable of reshaping alliances, breaking nations, and determining who can participate in the future economy. In a world defined by scarcity, the balance of power no longer favors the richest nations, quickest the resource-rich ones. Countries with abundant water, fertile land, and mineral reserves emerge as the new economic giants, while traditional superpowers face the consequences of decades of overconsumption, dependency, and environmental neglect. Africa becomes the center of global competition, with foreign governments pouring billions into its land and minerals, each seeking control over the last untouched reserves. South America rises as a food and lithium powerhouse, holding leverage over nations desperate for stable supplies. The Middle East, once defined by oil, shifts its focus toward desalination technology and water security, rewriting its future identity. Subjected down, Europe confronts an uncomfortable truth. Its land is shrinking, its water is drying, and its industries depend on resources it no longer controls. This is the new map of global influence, not defined by armies or currencies, but by the ground beneath a nation's feet and what remains buried inside it. As scarcity spreads, countries begin restructuring their economies, arbitrarily not around growth, but survival. To protections shift from maximizing profit, enforce stricter export bans, prioritizing internal stability over global cooperation. Cities adopt rationing systems for water and electricity, fuffling residents to adapt to shortages that would have been unimaginable a decade ago. New black markets emerge, seizing not in luxury goods, but in basic necessities: rice, fuel, medicine, clean drinking water. Families change their lifestyles, growing food at home, storing supplies, and investing in tools rather than luxuries. High-tech innovations focus on efficiency: water recycling, vertical farming, synthetic fuel, mineral alternatives. The economy itself transforms, and people learn that in the age of scarcity, wealth is measured not by what you own, but by what you can secure. Flirting of all is this: survival becomes the new currency. For decades, the middle class was the backbone of modern civilization, preventive of stability, prosperity, and opportunity. But scarcity changes everything. Widest prices on food, utilities, and essential goods, alash ailments, consume household budgets faster than wages can grow. Savings disappear, safety nets weaken, and inflation becomes permanent rather than temporary. Homeownership, once a dream, becomes an impossibility, accompanied as housing prices soar under limited land and corporate control. Families are pushed into renting for life, bail unable to secure long-term stability. Employment becomes volatile as industries shrink, and automation replaces labor to preserve dwindling resources. Meanwhile, the wealthy shield themselves, peacefully, through private reserves, exclusive access, and secure supply chains that the average citizen will never touch. The Mexico slowly collapses, leaving behind a polarized world where the divide between the resource-secure and resource-poor becomes almost impossible to bridge. And as this divide grows wider, Homer's societies begin to fracture under the weight of economic inequality. While governments struggle to manage scarcity, quietly construct into the power vacuum. Ling tech giants, investment firms, and global conglomerates purchase vast amounts of land, water rights, mineral reserves, and energy grids, subjected becoming the new owners of civilization's essentials. In many countries, the water you drink, book you buy, your home are controlled not by public institutions, but by private corporations accountable only to shareholders. These firms use advanced technology, satellite mapping, AI forecasting, predictive logistics, duffling to dominate supply chains and outmaneuver governments. As public infrastructure weakens, citizens become customers, and access becomes a subscription. The price of survival fluctuates like the stock market. The line between government authority and corporate influence fall back glued thinner each year, creating a world where the companies that control resources hold more power than entire nations. Discharged is the silent takeover, the privatization of survival.
Pleasures. By the time the world accepts the age of scarcity, the transformation is complete. Economies no longer chase limitless growth. They adapt to finite boundaries. Nations redesign their priorities around conservation, efficiency, and strict resource management. Energy grids rely on recycling, food systems depend on controlled production, and water becomes the most protected asset on the planet. Cities evolve into dense, self-contained hubs where every drop, every watt, every grain is measured, and optimized. Flushing shifts from expansion to preservation. Norwich learned to live with less, not as a choice, but as a global necessity. And while humanity survives this transition, it emerges fundamentally changed. Aware that its greatest enemy was not scarcity itself, blinked that the belief that the world's resources would last forever. The age of abundance built the past, but the age of scarcity will define the future.